Nice to have you with us on a busy day on a Monday. Good to have you aboard here on the 15th day of January, 2018. Nice to have you with us with our good buddies Eddie Erickson and of course Colin Schmeling. Yours truly, Christopher Russo, begins the broadcast day here on Mad Dog Unleashed. 888 Mad Dog 6 is your two-way sports talk telephone number as we talk to you about what's going on. And we have a busy day to do, of course, today on our program for the next three. We're going to do Bob Greasy, we hope, a little bit later on Keith Jackson. And we'll do plenty of good stuff for you as far as the week is concerned with guests getting ready for a championship Sunday in the National Football League. And of course, that is where we will begin on this Monday afternoon. Well, again, you know what? I've always said this, and I'm going to reiterate it. I've been on this theme forever in my sports life. If you are going to break a curse, and you have a curse to deal with, Cavaliers is a perfect example, down 3-1. That whole city, in major scenarios, coming back against Golden State. The Red Sox, we all know what they did in 0-4, down 0-3. If you're going to break that kind of curse, you are going to need a miracle to wash away the sin. You're going to need it. That's all there is to it. You are not going to break a curse, very rarely, where you are going to break a curse where, or a long dry spell, whatever the case might be. Depends on what your definition of curse is. Might be an 80-year curse, might be a 30-year curse, maybe you've never won, whatever it might be. You're never going to, very rarely do you do it without something gargantuan happening along the way to help you win a championship. And the Vikings have been a franchise, really in sport, that has had a lot more heartbreak than the average person really relates to. I mean, the Twins have won 2 championships. You get that. So the state of Minnesota, they have had a couple of titles, but the Vikings, who have had a lot of success, been there since 1961. I think it's 61. I don't think they got there in 60, but they've had a lot of success, but they have had an unbelievable amount of rough luck. Now, forget the Super Bowls. I mean, they got murdered by the Chiefs. They were a big favorite. They got killed by Miami. They got run over by Zonker and company, so they were in trouble from that standpoint. They were obviously ambushed by Pittsburgh. That was a close game, and Pittsburgh finally beat them in the Pittsburgh defense. And then the Raiders there in 75. So, I mean, their Super Bowl performances were never, they really almost were embarrassing, more so than they were heartbreaking. But if you look at the Vikings over the last, whatever it might be, they have lost a lot of home playoff games, number one. 1970, San Francisco beat them there on a cold day. Nobody remembers that, 17-14. Steve Torrey, God bless his little soul, can recite chapter and verse on a Drew Pearson catch with Roger Staubach in 75 on a Hail Mary. That was a brutal loss. Also in Minnesota. Dallas went up to Minnesota the next year and won again. They lost a playoff game to Philadelphia one year. That was about maybe 10, 12 years ago. They had the Blair Walsh game, and then they had the championship game when Gary Anderson missed a field goal. So this is a franchise, forget championships on the road, where, New Orleans beat them very fortunately in overtime. They have lost an amazing amount of tough games. And so they needed to wash away, to cleanse themselves, make a long story short. They needed something like yesterday afternoon. They needed some miracle play in a big situation to put aside Drew Pearson, Blair Walsh, Gary Anderson, John Brody, you name it. They needed something, and they got it. Bottom line is they got it. They got a play yesterday. First off, they dominated the game for a half. Let's keep that in mind. And they went down the field. Although it was a 54-yard field goal, so it wasn't like this was a John Elway drive. They did go down the field goal, and obviously he made Forbath makes the 54-yarder. And they did give up a 4th and 10 on the other way when the Saints retook the lead. But from a standpoint of the game itself, I think they try to put the game in the icebox. When teams try to put these games in the icebox, Georgia did that. When you try to do that, invariably it comes back to bite you in the rear end. Now, they did that a little bit yesterday. They had a 17-0 lead at home, great defense, shut out the Saints at the half. They figured, let's not make a mistake here. We're in pretty good shape. And obviously, he made a big mistake on that pass that he threw up there that was picked off at 17-7. The Saints got right back in the game pretty quickly. But they played better than New Orleans for a large part of the game. And, they really should have beaten the Saints the year the Saints won the whole thing in the NFC Championship game. So the football gods, make a long story short, owed Minnesota a game. They owed them one. And they got it. I mean, the defensive back made a terrible play. He seems like a great kid. He's a rookie, second-round pick out of Utah. He was great after the game, dealing with the media. All the Saints were. He made a bad play. I mean, I didn't even like his explanation. Well, I have to go more aggressive and try to break up the pass. Don't worry about the pass. Let him catch it and tackle him. Give him room and tackle him and make that. I mean, that is the issue more than anything else that bothers you. He wanted to be more aggressive on the pass play. Well, then you get maybe called for pass interference, or maybe you bang the ball in the air and somebody catches it a la Franco Harris on a deflection. That you don't want. Let Diggs catch it and tackle him. And for whatever the reason, he basically he took out his own man on a lame tackle, and Diggs goes coast to coast, 61 yards, and wins the game in heroic fashion. And again, the Saints will rue the day. They have their championship, however. The Saints will rue the day, and this will bother them for a long time. Minnesota has not won a championship. Again, for a franchise that has had a lot of success. Matter of fact, if you look, let me get my trusty guide out. If you look at Minnesota, I mean, I'm going to go through it with you here just for a sec. You're going to say, geez, I didn't realize they were that good for so long. I mean, Minnesota has had they've been a great franchise. I mean, they came in listen, they were in a tough division. Remember, they came in the NFC, in the NFL. They played in that Western Conference, and their first year was 61. I believe Van Brocklin was their coach with Talkington. They were bad then, 3-11. 62, they were 2-11. And then 63, they started to get better. 63, they won 5 games. And then 64, they won 8 games. And 65, they won 7 games. And then 66, they were bad. But then they turned it around, beginning with Bud Grant. They were 67, they won 3 games. But then they came. Then they were 68, they made the playoffs, lost to Baltimore. I mean, 69, they lost the Super Bowl to Kansas City. 70, they were 12-2. That was the game they lost to San Francisco, which, by the way, at the time was a huge upset. Divisional playoffs in Bloomington. Mary Tyler Moore, 17-14. 71, they were 11-3. They lost to Dallas in their building, 20-12. That was the year before, a couple of years before the Hail Mary. I thought it was after. And then they had a couple of bad years, then they were good again. They've had a great run, this team. For the 50, 60 years they've been around, 4 Super Bowls, but have not gotten over the hump. And now it's right there for them. They will be, and I think rightfully so, a solid favorite in Philadelphia. They have the Super Bowl in their backyard. They have a lot of momentum. Now they have the extra quotient of they have a belief. Hey, look at us. We got through this game. This is nothing. This next one. They've been good on the road all year. It's a team that won in Atlanta. This is a team that, beat a lot of good. Atlanta's just top of the year. I know they lost in Carolina, but they've been a very good road team all year. This is a team right now that is, I think, I will be very, very surprised if they don't get to a home game for the Super Bowl. And I think they're going to play the Patriots. I mean, it is made for a Patriot-Vikings Super Bowl. And what could be harder for Brady than winning another championship, but this time doing it on the road? Because, although that won't be your quote-unquote road game because it's such a corporate event, the Super Bowl, it is still in Minnesota. It is still in Minnesota. But the gods owed them one. And the gods paid them off yesterday. I didn't like the way the Saints ran out the clock on their last drive where they had a chance to, maybe not leave any. What the Saints should have done on that last drive when they got pretty close to field goal range, they should have put themselves in a situation after 4th and 10. They should have put themselves in a situation where the last play of the game was going to be the field goal made or miss. That's what they should have done. Instead, they left 20-something seconds on the clock and Minnesota having a timeout. They should have, I have to go back and look at every play, but they should have been in a situation once they got the first down that we are going to end the game on the leg of our kicker. And they threw 2 passes on the right sideline to Michael Thomas, which I didn't understand. Should have run the ball one at a time. They should have put themselves in that spot. So they did not handle that clock nearly as well as they should have. But Minnesota, they got an unheralded free agent making $2 million a year at quarterback. They lost their star running back, rookie, first-round pick out of Florida State and Cook. This is a team that is due. Big time due. Now, so is Philadelphia. They're due as well. But they don't have Wentz. Their future is down the road. This is a team that is due. And I think right now they are, you could make a run at, I think Minnesota could beat the Patriots. I think Patriots are going to beat Jacksonville. Minnesota has got it going now. They got that lucky horseshoe. They got a lucky horseshoe. At the Saints' expense, but they have it. To break curses, to get off the snide. Lots of times in sports, you need God to play in the game. Yesterday, God played in it. 15 after the hour, we continue. Mad Dog Unleashed.